President Ricky Skerritt, welcome back to the Morning Shot.
Good morning. My pleasure to be here.
Your family and yourself, you guys are safe, I hope.
Thank God, yes. I'm glad you started out that way, Ryan, because this is really a very challenging and worrying time for people all across the world, but especially here in the Caribbean, where we're not accustomed to this kind of stressful living. It's a very, very difficult time for all of us.
Well, this week marks 1 year since you were elected Cricket West Indies president. How would you summarize your first 12 months in office?
Very focused, very committed to making progress on all fronts, trying everything we could to bring improvement in the way we do business, trying to make it a more efficient and productive organization, and try to get some financial sustainability.
Have you enjoyed it?
Trying to get enthusiasm and optimism up in the stakeholder groups and especially in the players.
Have you been enjoying it, or has it been stressing you out?
I always enjoy cricket. I enjoy doing whatever I can to bring support and resources to cricket. Cricket has been my life as a hobby, and now in a very responsible position as chairman. But no, the stress has been there, but we've managed it fairly well.
You know, Mr. President, in your manifesto, in the build-up to the Cricket West Indies elections in 2019, you proposed to cap the tenure of the CWI presidency to 6 years. You said this will remove much of the uncertainty and anxiety caused by cricket politics. That's what you said. We've heard little of that stance since. Is that still on the table for you?
Absolutely. You will be hearing, hopefully in another month or so, of the Webby governance report. You know, there have been many governance reports in the past, but this one being led by Don Webby and 4 other wise colleagues of his should be coming forward to Cricket West Indies, at least in its first part, within the next month. And by the time that makes its rounds and gets accepted either in whole or in part, we will have an element in there that speaks to term limits.
Let's sort of recap your first year in the presidency. You fired Richard Pybus, installed Floyd Reefer on an interim basis, Phil Simmons returned, Kieron Pollard is back, Dwayne Bravo as well. With all of these changes, there's been no significant improvement in West Indies cricket when it comes to the rankings in T20 tests and one-day internationals. What is your plan of action for year 2?
Well, first of all, at no time did we promise a change in rankings within 12 months. Obviously, nothing that we do, for however long, will have any sustainable impact without a significant growth in performance and a rise up the ladder of the rankings. We're very aware of that. I've said that openly. I say to you now that if at the end of the day, I leave this office with a much more transparent and accountable organization that is doing a better job, that pales in comparison to the need for that better job to result in better cricket performances on the field. So we're very aware of that, and that is the ultimate objective, to get teams performing at their best in the varied types of cricket, male and female, and resulting in a significant improvement up the ladder to be at least in the top 5. So I don't see that happening in the second year either. I see us beginning to make the move up the ladder in the second year, but it won't be jumps of more than 1 step at a time. Right now, focusing on that. We're focusing on getting the organization to be strong, transparent, accountable, and productive.
How have you been able to make progress on that, on significantly changing the culture of the organization, the leadership of the organization within the first year?
By having a plan, by communicating very clearly to the top management what we need to be achieving, and monitoring and overseeing it very, very stringently. We have done a number of reviews, as you know. We had a review on a key cricket area of the selection system, which came out with some significant changes, some of which you mentioned a little while ago. And we had a business situation review vis-a-vis a financial review. And we're beginning to implement those recommendations. We have a governance review on the way, and we will be doing some other key task force operations in a short order.
All right, so you campaigned a lot on the inconsistencies of Dave Cameron's time in office. What did you meet that you had to fix within your first year? What type of situation did you meet at Cricket West Indies as president that you said that you felt needed immediately addressing?
Well, there are several things that we have addressed. Not all of them have we fixed, if that is a word you prefer to use, because most are not fixed. But the things that I think we have fixed is the selection system, the process that we went through, engaging literally hundreds and in online thousands of stakeholders. It was clear to us what we needed to fix. We needed to fix the confidence system. And we had to do that by changing the system so that it would be updated, it would be modern, it would be pragmatic, and it would be functional. And I think we have a selection system that now has the confidence, at least I would say regained most of the confidence of the players and the general stakeholders. And so now when Roger Harper and his team puts a team on the field, I'm sure it doesn't make everybody happy, because if West Indies cricket will never ever make everybody in the Caribbean happy at the same time. But Roger Harper puts a team out there that people see how it has come about. He explains how it has come about. He answers questions to the media. One of the things that we fixed as well, Ryan, was between the chairman of the board, that's me, the vice chairman, let's call it chairman, president and vice president, the CEO, the director of cricket, chairman of selectors and lead selectors of Anne Brown herself, lead selector of the women's team, of the women's cricket. All of these folks are now obligated to speak to the media. We have had more interviews online and offline, probably in 1 year than were held for the previous 10 years. So we've become more transparent and all of the problems in the light, in the sunshine, out in the open. We're not holding or hiding anything from anybody.
Mr. President, you talk about fixing the domestic system, but there's also a global system in cricket to fix. And I just want to point out to you, since you assumed office on March 24th, 2019, the West Indies has played just 3 test matches. They've played 2 against India and they've played 1 against Afghanistan. In that time, since March 24th to present, England has played 13 test matches, Australia has played 10, New Zealand and India have played 9. You were appointed in January a member of the MCC World Cricket Committee. What voice have you brought to the International Cricket Council and the international cricket body to address disparity and inequity that faces the global game?
Well, first of all, let's clarify some things. The MCC Global Cricket Committee does not have anything to do with ICC Future Tours program. The ICC Future Tours program is a combination of ICC itself and the bilateral arrangements between cricket playing nations. MCC, the MCC World Committee, which incidentally has not met since I've become a member. We're supposed to be meeting this weekend in Colombo, as you may know, and that series was called off. It was being positioned to coincide with the English tour to Sri Lanka. But so the fixtures that exist have been set for before my time. None of the fixtures that are in place now, other than certain details of which ground and which exact day and so on. All of those were in the ICC Future Tours program up to 2023. What we did was try to make sure that we schedule them and promoted it out front well in advance so that most countries know what cricket they're going to have in terms of the domestic tours. But your point is well made. The hosting of Test cricket by Cricket West Indies at home is by and large a loss-making enterprise, other than when we have India or England visiting, both of whom were here, as you know, last year. So we have shortened tours to try to cut the losses. Instead of having 4 and 5 test series now, you have 2 test series, or series with 2 test matches. And so that also explains the cutback. The people who play more test matches tend to be the bigger markets, those that can justify it financially and so on. So it's a complicated situation which we really have little or no control over when it comes to Test cricket.
You see, Mr. President, I ask this because there are implications also off the field of play. Just before you assumed office last year, there was a report that came out on March 6 which showed Cricket West Indies earning £12 million from TV rights. England, in that same report, was earning £220 million. So you have a huge issue here to address, and you also have you're the voice of West Indies cricket in Dubai at International Cricket Council meetings. How difficult is it to address such an issue at the ICC?
You can address anything at the ICC. The question is, will you have influence at the ICC? ICC allows any member of the board to speak about any subject. There's no stopping you from speaking. I've been to 2 ICC board meetings, one in July in London last year and one in October in Dubai. And we have one online this coming Friday. Because it's online, I will have to be on at 6 a.m. Others will be on at midnight, their time. So it's not easy to do an online meeting for ICC because of the global spread. But to get back to the point, the monies earned from broadcast rights really has little or nothing to do with ICC. It has to do with the market. It has to do with the broadcasters themselves and what they perceive the market to be worth. You only earn money from broadcast rights that you own, and you only own events in your hometown. So it's only when we have cricket in the West Indies that we have a product to sell to the broadcasters. So even when we participate in part of that earnings by England and by India and so on, we get nothing from it, other than the promotion of our players. Our players benefit in the sense that obviously they're earning a pay. We have to continue paying them, but they show the world what they're capable of, and they turn around and maybe get selected in different leagues and so on. And of course, West Indies people either get embarrassed or we get pride. And hopefully it's going to be more pride in the future. But basically, when it comes to earnings, we have no control over anything that happens in England or elsewhere.
To help in those TV rights, would you consider bringing the West Indies' scheduled tour to England to the West Indies in June?
Well, you know, there was some speculation about that. We don't have that authority. It's due to be a tour to England, so therefore England owns that tour. For good reason, all of us are hoping that that tour won't be postponed and certainly not canceled. if the only time we could really probably be a benefit to England for hosting is if they find themselves having unfinished business, their summer has run out, they can't host cricket in the winter, and they feel that perhaps they can do something in the winter elsewhere where you play cricket year-round, like in the West Indies. At that point, we're definitely ready to talk to them or anybody else about hosting what would be a home series for them played abroad.
Mr. President, is it possible you can give us a brief on what does West Indies cricket's finances look like? It's been a huge topic of discussion over the last decade, maybe even 2 decades. Under your first year as president of Cricket West Indies, what does the finances look like today?
West Indies cricket has been suffering for some time from a shortage of working capital. Basically, we spend more money than we earn most years. And when we earn more than we spend, it's usually small amounts. We've had an approach where we always spent money that we thought was coming in advance of it coming, and sometimes the money that came wasn't quite what we expected. For example, we had been told that ICC would be granting us a total of 128 million over a 7-year period. And of course, we had to be told that by people who were in touch with ICC. Well, ICC can project at times without it being totally accurate. So the ICC earnings fell a little bit, and instead of getting 128 million over 7 years, we're going to be getting about 119 million over the same period. So that means West Indies was expecting an additional $9 million, which we now probably won't get, but which we have pretty much already spent. Where have we spent it? Well, part of it was spent on purchasing the Coolidge Cricket Ground. And that money has had to go to complete the sale of the Coolidge Cricket Ground without having the kind of capitalization that we needed to have, without having any long-term money for that. So that has pulled money out of our working capital. We also have increased fees, and we've set up our fixed cost on average about $45 million, $44 million per year. That is funded by 2 big components. One is the broadcast rights that you were talking about earlier, and the other one is grants from the ICC. The broadcast rights money expired in December last year, and we still do not have completed negotiations with most countries for 2 reasons. One, you should really enter the market about 2 years before the end of your term to start negotiating and trying to cajole and to convince the broadcasters to do business with you. We didn't go to the market until around the same time I became president last year. So we've not had enough time in the market, and to make it worse, the market has become very, very uncertain. I don't need to tell you what this situation is doing to markets of all kinds everywhere. So revenues that we really, under normal circumstances, would have already begun collecting from broadcast rights, we have not done as yet. So revenues continue to decline, expenses are fixed, and even when you try to reduce some of the administrative or operational costs, you still have payrolls that exceed $1.5 million per year, per month to cover players, etc. And other fixed costs that just won't go away.
Mr. President, I'm running out of time, but I want to power through some questions here. You've accomplished some of your bullet points in your 10-point plan that you had in your manifesto, some of it being the Under-23 regional tournament is set to launch this year. You reevaluated and revisited the selection system. There is now a new selection policy. The grassroots of cricket, though, what are your plans for the absolute grassroots of West Indies cricket, especially hailing from the country that you've come? Leeward Islands cricket has sort of fallen off over the last few years. It's been revitalized in some seasons. What is your plan for the grassroots system in West Indies cricket?
Well, we've begun a number of initiatives, but again, the biggest setback there is availability of funds. So, as you know, we have no sponsorship for any of our youth cricket. So mobilizing on the 15 tournaments, on the 17 tournaments, on the 19 tournaments, and now on the 19 girls tournaments, which have been our priority, is funded all internally from Cricket West Indies, very stretched funds. What I've done recently is I've written to every minister of sports across the region, having met with most of them in person. And I have proposed a deal with them where we no longer charge them or get them to pay what we call bid money, which they used to pay before my time, to get cricket. They used to have to literally buy international cricket from Cricket West Indies. I've said to them, don't buy cricket from us anymore. We're going to schedule cricket all around the West Indies. And we've put that schedule together and put it out. You may have seen it. But what I want you to do is to spend more money on grassroots cricket. The government is being asked to take ownership or greater share in the ownership of grassroots cricket. That sums up really what the plan is.
You're in an extremely crucial year, Mr. President. There are 2 World Cups this year. The West Indies women just wrapped up one, finished 3rd in their group, curtailed by rain. They didn't make the semi-finals, didn't win. The Men's T20 World Cup is also very important, and that takes place in Australia. Fingers crossed it comes off. But should the West Indies men not do well in this tournament, and the team includes some guys who've returned, not only from retirement, but returned to the team, if the West Indies men don't win this T20 World Cup, should there be a change in the way we think about selection for this team?
Well, the West, as I said, we got to take this one step at a time. What we are doing that's different is that we have a pathway to the World Cup that has been set and planned by Jimmy Adams and his team, including the head coach and his team. And until the situation we're experiencing now, where we were playing certain cricket with some degree of certainty, we knew that we were going to host New Zealand, we knew we were going to host South Africa, we knew that we were going to have CPL. There was a clear pathway of simulation, practice, opportunity for excelling for a number of players, but most importantly for the selectors to put together the best team by the middle of this year to then prepare for the World Cup in October this year. That has been disrupted somewhat, but I can tell you that the people whose names I called a little while ago are all on top of it. They're working on it. They're talking to each other. They're looking at what are the options to make sure that our players continue to get the best exposure and the best preparation.
West Indies women won a World Cup 4 years ago. Sorry to interject you. West Indies women won a World Cup 4 years ago. That team seems to have fallen off from the world champions that they once were. Do you have any plans to rescue women's cricket in the Caribbean?
The present management team will be doing a evaluation, a revisit of what took place. What was the preparation like? It was all very short. World Cups need preparation for a year or two. You don't just go into a World Cup. A number of changes had to be made, some forced, some unforced. But the point is, we will be reviewing performances, we'll be evaluating performances, and making significant decisions to improve future performances. That's the only way I know how to do it, and to put plans in place that have a clear pathway to improvement. It's not just about talent. One has to prepare.
Mr. President, how much of an obstacle has the coronavirus been in your plans for West Indies cricket this year?
Well, you know, we still being very cautious. We have to be. That's why we've shut down certain tournaments. we're acting in the best interests of the health and safety of all concerned. We're following what the government and the health systems are requiring. And we have to take it sort of like 1 week at a time. And we're having a board meeting tomorrow. And we will have some discussion there about various tournaments and see what will be postponed or what will be canceled completely.
Do you think the CPL will be postponed?
Business as usual.
Do you think the CPL will be postponed?
Well, CPL is not scheduled until August. We're hoping, you know, you can't really predict this thing, Ryan. We just got to try our best to manage it as well as we can and be as hygienic in our practices as we can. But we're hoping, obviously everybody's praying and hoping that things will get back to what will be a new normal, probably in a few months' time. We'll have to take it one step at a time.
You know, Mr. President, Dave Cameron left behind a deeply divisive Cricket West Indies board. What is your relationship like with the various territories around the region?
I think you should ask them, but I'm not worried about that. I have an open door policy to everybody. You know, we make decisions at the board. None of the decisions have been unanimous yet, but it's democracy. We make sure that we hear everybody and that we try to pull together the best solutions.
We've sort of assessed over the last half hour where we've come since you've assumed office a year ago. Where would you like to see West Indies cricket at by the end of 2020?
Well, certainly the financial sustainability has to be stronger, and hopefully our governance report will be in with the recommendations being followed, or at least most of them having been accepted, and that we have a lean and efficient, hard-working group of people helping to produce the teams that are out there facing the world and making the Caribbean public proud again.
There's an old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. You wished for the Cricket West Indies presidency. Have you ever regretted it since?
You're not going to believe this, but you know I never wished for that. I had a situation where a lot of people felt that there was in desperate need of change and that I could bring that change. It took me a long time to decide that I really wanted to do it. It is not something that I crave. If I lost the presidency tomorrow, it wouldn't change my life very much. But it would be a disappointment for me if I don't make a significant difference while I'm here.
Cricket West Indies President Ricky Skerritt, please stay safe. Please keep sanitizing. Please take care of your family. And thank you very much for this interview.
Same to you and your viewers, Ryan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.